Right, morning all. Springs have arrived from Paddocks. I think ordered Monday. There would be yesterday, but slight delivery problem, i.e. You have to come back today because I have to go and visit my brother. Anyway, so there's the springs. I did make a comment about that I was taking the springs off my 109, which I could have used second hand because I've got some parabolics I bought some a long time ago. Anyway, so there's that. So sunny day and bit of welding. I think I've got the hang of. Well, it's not brilliant. I haven't cleaned it up or anything. I assume the brown thing is normal. Bit of, I'll call it coking or something, a bit, bitty there. Decent few little runs there, a little bit spatty there. But I was filling a little hole there and filling a hole there. So I've done this here. Clean it up, not too bad. I'm just going to cut this back section out now because I can't get at the back. It's so easy, and it's got to come out. So it's really tacked in. Checked all the measurements. It's about right. The gap here to modify and put this section in, which I've got to clean up, as you can see, and it's just a holy idler, it's a steering idler. So happy days. Just keep plodding on. Thanks for all the lovely comments, and please, opinions are always welcome. Right, give me welder a bit of rest every so often because it's got a bit of welding. Anyway, cheers folks. Right, so I've cleaned most of this side off. Still got to do that side. That's not so critical because there's nothing to put on there. I've just got to lay on the steering relay and try and get that lined up and sorted. That's a bit of a fiddle. As long as it's fairly straight and accurate, it doesn't really matter because it's just there to hold the steering relay, and there is adjustment on the steering relay, but of course the track rod ends at each end. So within a quarter of an inch or so, which is it's right anyway. So my weld's not brilliant, but I'm happy with them, as in i.e. they have welded. I've given it a good old bash, gently of course, but with a hammer. Everything seems okay. Yeah, it's not the best. I've left, there's a small gap here and a small gap here. I'm going to put a drill possibly through here and then fill it with wax soil, and hopefully that'll be alright as a draining hole. I think that should be alright because there is usually a draining hole in it, so I've just left this here. I hope that'll be okay for like welding or MOT. Should be. I don't know, but any comments please leave in the box. But yeah, that is a bit bitty, but it's fine, it's sound. I'm happy with it, otherwise I wouldn't be I'll just drop it on the floor. Whoops. Right, that's a little bit of a predicament, but which once again it is literally a bracket just to hold. So I've got to get that so it sits like the last one, but I can cut and trim this off here. I can cut this out here possibly and put a new piece of metal from underneath to tack underneath here across, weld it to there, weld to there, and weld, and then shove that across because it's certain measurements that I need. Yeah, okay. This can be trimmed away back here because it's where the join is for the chassis. So I don't know whether to try and put the chassis section on this to try and get onto the full chassis, and then cut and modify and put this on when it's on the chassis. I don't know. Problems, but I think I need to trickle and tidy this up first anyway, and see where I am with that. Cheers. Right, so I'm going to clean these up and trim them to a reasonable level. The chassis to go on. Hopefully I can get a decent finish down here with a weld. I think just got to get a bit of a grinder action going and try and keep as much of this top tail as I can, which is the follow through. Same as the other side, even though that's got the big crack in it there where I've wrenched out the old weld, but a judicious bit of grinding to clean that off should be okay. and then just flatten this top off, because naturally it wants to be fairly smooth for the thing to slide on. Then line it up, see how we go from there. So I might get on might get it lined up today. Cheers. Right, the new sweater. Piss poor metal. I'm only using a rubber mallet to tap on, but I caught the front here and it's left a small indentation in there. I can see it, but you can't see that behind the bumper, so I have to hit the weld there at the top or the bottom, and it's only a question of just doing that to tap on. Just goes to show you that, anyway, whatever. That's just a temporary push on. The main thing is to get the 34.6 inches from the hole there to the hole at the back spring, and then just whether I get the slope right on here. But what I'm going to do is put a hole there, and then I can see underneath here, so I'll put a hole there and I'll put a hole the other side, and then with the possibility I can then see how close that is to there and weld that. Then I can start welding this up. I've got to plate some bits underneath, as you know, and then squash this to the ground, sorry, and then I've got to plate that up there underneath. But this is only temporary. See how we go from it, and then see what we've got to fit and what we ain't got to fit. Basically check the measurements. Same again, it's just that hole there. You can see. Anyway, not too bad. I don't know whether although I've got this as a slope, it possibly should be straight, but I don't think it shouldn't matter. It's not in the way. It is only just a support for the structure, for the bumper and everything else. This is just a cross member. There you go. So I made it out of decent material anyway, so it ain't going anywhere. Anyway, cheers. Well, this is the tricky and slow bit now. Although there's got big holes to do underneath, which is underneath here where the bump stop goes, the main thing is to get the level from the spring shackle to the back, which is 34.6 inches from the centres, that's about right. I mean, I wouldn't weld nothing till it was right and jigged up a bit more. So it needs, and I put a hole in here because then I can see this plate here, because the original chassis is quite sturdy, so as long as this top plate fits and follows that line, it might be alright. I have noticed that the weld split here because of my grinding, so because there was a plate on here, so I've ground the plate off because the other crossmember was here, and evidently the weld was a bit thin, so I've got to be careful of that, and one or two other places where I can see that the weld is gone, but I'll go over those, no problem. Same as that there. If I put a bit of weight on there, you know, you can see, you can tip that, and then, well, you can see that. If I just tip it back, it sits right. It's a bit awkward trying to explain, but yeah, that's the critical thing. You can be out as long as the both front legs are out. In other words, if you're half an inch out, be half an inch out both sides, not half an inch one side and, you know, the other side. So I've got to work out how to get something that's fairly flat to come across to measure. Anyway, not my problem, but I'll get it sorted. I'm not going to weld nothing yet today. It's getting late, and I get a bit like stir crazy. So there you go, waffling again, or rambling. So, and I'll put the steadies back in, which is the spring, sorry, the threaded rod, because that's the measuring point from there to the spring shackle there, and it's easy to measure with that, and also to hold it and move it about. There you go. So I'm going to have another sweep up and tidy up and have a sit and think. You won't be able to this out, of course, on a video, but there is a number there from the front dumb iron, which I'm going to take in and just check and see if I can make out a little bit more. But it's definitely chassis number. which does match. Cheers.